75.
Lady Godiva was a freedom rider. She didn't care if the whole world looked. Joan of Arc with the Lord to guide her. She was a sister who really cooked. Isadora was the first bar burner. Ain't you glad she showed up?
Oh, yeah!
When the country was falling apart, Betsy Ross got it all sold up.
And then there's Maud.
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 And then there's
That uncompromising, enterprising, anything but tranquilizing. Right on, Maud.
Bill Horan presents Secrets of Success, the show designed to help listeners uncover their hidden talents to maximize success. Listen to Secrets of Success Wednesdays at 4 p.m. and Sundays at 7:30 a.m. on 90.3 FM WHPC, the voice of Nassau Community College. Streaming at ncc.edu/WHPC.
Garden City, New York.
You're listening to the Motor Mouth. Hello. You guys are the best. Man, you guys are insane, hilarious, and the best stuff I've ever seen. That's right. Chris and Ray. Can I win anything? I got through! I can't believe I got through!
Well, I'm glad you guys are around because I didn't even know you existed.
Hey, how are you, Motor Mouth?
This is one of those days, nothing to do, so I figure why not spend it with a couple of nobodies.
What? I have my picture up on the webpage.
Boy, you taught me something about that car.
Why must you ask such difficult questions? What?
I don't know too much about motors.
Do I come one into your show? We love you guys that have these shows.
Our trained staff of two will help.
Is this that junky car show that I listen to? Oh, you the distributed cat from my port condenser.
Quite frankly, there are better things to do with your time.
Trying to dial the phone with transmission fluid all over me.
I finally got a chance to listen to you guys streaming. I'm in a good mood. I'm happy.
Yeah, I want to know what the is wrong with my car.
I haven't even called my own mechanic back, but why don't I ask you?
But you guys are pretty special guys. Motor Mouth must be a motorcycle thing because I'm not familiar with that.
Yes.
Let's just think right now, Murphy's Law, what's going to go wrong? Is the board going to explode? Is the mic going to drop? Is my phone going to drop? I love live radio. I'm just having some fun with you guys.
There are answers, sometimes correct ones, and we may have them.
Motor Mouth Radio, 90.3 FM, WHPC.
Motor Mouth!
This is Motor Mouth Radio, your one-hour automotive talk show. And now, here are your Motor Mouths, Chris Switzer and Ray Guarino.
Alrighty, for those of you who need a total break from all those very good automotive talk shows... Oh, wait a minute. There are good automotive talk shows. This is the only one. It's Motor Mouth Radio, your one-hour automotive talk show, right here on Long Island. I'm Chris Switzer. And, of course, here's a man who can ride like the wind, fly like the eagle, and cruise with the devil, all from behind the shop bench. You know him as Ray Guarino. How are you, my brother?
Good, Chris. I used to run with the devil, but Van Halen killed that one on me. And yeah, keeping with our theme of missing things around here for the past few weeks, it was this day in 1930. You'll remember this well.
I will.
New York State Supreme Presiding Court Judge Joe Force Crater went missing after leaving a Manhattan restaurant. His disappearance remains a mystery, except by a few select members of the Switzer family. So again, another disappearance. We had Jimmy Hoffa, and now we have Judge Crater, and you guys ain't talking.
Judge Crater.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I think I can barely remember reading about
Joe
that.
Force Crater.
Crater, yeah.
I guess he was the hanging judge, or somewhat.
Yeah, for some reason I can just remember. I mean, it's probably obvious to note that he didn't have very many friends and way too many enemies. So,
well, his friends had robes and his enemies had guns. So, well, some of his friends had guns, but some of his enemies had illegal guns.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe they had robes too. Probably satin ones with monograms or silk ones that they got.
Silk robes, right. Mm-hmm. This is Motor Mouth Radio.
I like them with those felt lapels. You know, it's nice. Like my sport jackets, I like that. Yeah.
Felt?
Yeah, the felt. You gotta put the felt. You know, remember when sport coats had nice trim design with the felt lapel? and maybe sometimes a little felt on the black. Usually it was black felt.
Was this when, 1973?
Sammy Davis wore one all the time. Come on.
So you
in the 60s, 50s, 60s.
Was like Nehru?
No, Nehru was the collar that came over like a priest's vestment. I had a Nehru jacket.
I thought a Nehru was a type of material.
No.
Nehru
was the style,
okay.
And it was a straight collar. The jacket had a straight up collar like a tab. There's shirts like that. It came around and it just had kind of like a little cutout, kind of like a priest's vestment.
Okay.
And that was a Nehru, and it lasted I think 3 weeks.
Yeah,
long enough for me, a poor kid in that. But I had one. I actually had a Nehru jacket.
Had it, never wore it.
No, I wore it. It went with the flowered bell-bottom pants. And
you had flowered bell-bottom pants?
Striped bell-bottom. I had all sorts of bell. Yeah, you name it, I had them.
So did you wear the flowered, striped bell-bottom pants with the crushed velvet lapelled sport coat?
That's the one I still want. You see, I still want to get that one, and they still make them. Now it's hipster chic to have one of them, and you wear sometimes they wear like the Trilby hat or a small fedora, or the real hipsters used to wear like maybe a striped. Had a striped hat, or maybe one that was like tiger pattern. I don't know, weird stuff. Hey, that was the 60s, and into the 70s.
Pretty much now too.
Well, I mean, everything old is new again.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you just described hipster chic just right in there. You encapsulated the whole thing.
Yeah, that's what I said. Everything old is new again. Ties got wider already.
And this show.
But that was the days with that jacket. Was a very narrow, Mad Men style, very thin style tie.
With those ties, I always loved those ties.
Tab collar.
Even as a kid in the 70s, I always wanted to wear the thin tie.
Yeah.
Not those big old wide billboard.
Yeah. Right.
Those big old wide billboard ties.
Yeah. They were great napkins.
You
went out to eat. But the thin ties were cool. But you couldn't wear a tie clasp or a tie bar with them because they were wider than the tie. A little tiny tie tack. Maybe.
Right. Some little pearl or a little diamond stud or something like that. Very true. So this is the fashion show, otherwise disguised as Motormouth Radio. You can call us with a car question and kind of throw us off the track here. Don't talk about fashion. 516-572-7440 is the phone number. Ray Guarino behind the shop bench. You could watch him. We're on VaughnLive.tv/Motormouth Radio, and the repeat will be on motormouthradio.com, along with a whole host of other things. The blog, the podcast. We're streaming now. You can call us now, 516-572-7440. I'm just going to, stop even talking about that. Just say go to the website. Just go to the website, motormouthradio.com. A lot of fun and frolic going on over there. So how was your week?
Very good. Very productive. But just to get back to my first thought, to tie into car stuff, like you were saying.
Good.
You can picture a man of certain age, he'd probably be like 40, we'd think he was 60, with one of those thin lapel jackets, not with a felt collar necessarily, white shirt, thin tie, and a fedora, driving his 60-something
Thunderbird.
Anything.
Right.
T-Bird, Riviera, Chevy, that was the age and the era and the style. That should come back. It really should.
I think it already did.
In some places. It should come back more in more places.
Let's go and come back right to the phones and say hi, you're on with the Motormouths.
What are you guys talking about today?
We're talking how you should dress at work. You should have a dress code over at Mock Modified, and I want to see that it's enforced. Forget the goatee and the curly mustache, though. That's staying in Hipsterville.
Me being a horror film fan, I want one of those velvet smoking jackets that, not Christopher Lee, but Peter Cushing wears, and
Yeah,
Price jacket. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Well, you see, Christian does sport the Van Dyke style goatee
quite well,
which I wore for many years, and I went through great trouble to really shave it pointy. And it gets a lot of looks from people. It gets a lot of because it's very devilish looking.
And Christian has a tall stature as well, just like Vincent Price. You know what? He could almost play him on the in the next Motormouth Radio horror movie.
Well, you know what? I think maybe he's going to.
My last name is Price, so
right. There you go.
Price. That's right. Gee, there's another coinky dink.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's up, Mr. Desmodronic?
Oh, God.
Wow, that
was good.
Sums it up.
I sent them a little video. Someone put cams in there, and they never... shit. Well, anyway, the guy rode the bike down from Canada to this shop, so he could do the lower end. After he proceeded to tell me that, heads are already done, and they're all done with CNC porting, oversized valves, all that stuff. I'm like, yeah, okay, let's see what's in here, because I felt a little indexing when I was turning the motor over.
Yeah.
And mind you, with a Desmotronic valve train, you can turn the camshaft and open the valves by hand, as you saw in the video.
Wow, that's cool. Yeah,
it's effortless. It's effortless because there is no valve springs. They don't exist except for a hairpin spring just for the closing rocker.
Yeah,
so that it just stays in place.
Right.
But
so where is this guy staying? Is he like camping out and back while you're working on the bike because he lives in Canada?
No. He rode down here to New York from Calgary, and then he hopped on a plane and went overseas, and he'll be back in 6 to 8 weeks or something like that. I don't know.
Okay.
He's a hipster.
Well, so this is, I just want to hone in on this. This is the scope and the range of the type of work that you'll do over there at Mach Modified. You'll be working on an iron, you'll tune an iron head sports to carburetor one day. You'll have a Cowie in there that needs a top end or whatever, and then you get a Ducati in it that has some weirdo valve problems.
Yeah. Well, they put such a big camshaft in it. The hot rod cylinder heads. Now, he wants us to do the transmission and put a crankshaft that he had lightened and some pistons and stuff. But, I was under the assumption I wasn't going to touch the cylinder heads. But as soon as I felt something, not only the fact that when we drained the oil out before we yanked the motor, we found pieces of the valve guide seal in the drain plug, the little springs, the retention springs on the seal. So right away, that threw a flag up, and we're like, okay, and pulled it. You could access the valve train through like little covers, rocker covers. As soon as you pulled the rocker cover off, you saw the springs were gone. You knew where they came from.
Wow. So he's kind of fortunate he made it here from Calgary.
Say what again?
Kind of fortunate that he made it here from Calgary.
Yeah, he made it all
I don't know how. That's the thing that got me, too. But I knew, we just emailed him. I'm like, hey, this thing had to be burned in oil. Because you could see the oil was seeping, because the spring lost, there was no retention for the seal to hold the oil back at that point.
So while that bike sits on the side now waiting for further approval, what's the next thing to get worked on?
Well, I still got to take the lower end apart, get the crank set up, do some blueprint there, wait for a decision what to do with the cylinder heads, because I'd rather just send it back to the company that built them, since it was just done.
Is that in
let
Italy?
them make good on it.
Would that happen to be over in the mother country in Italy?
No.
Oh, good.
What the problem is right now with Ducati is, everyone's on vacation over there because they're picking the grapes.
Right, that's right. Yeah, no, it's true. They take like a month and a half off.
You can't order parts with Ducati right now. They'll tell you to go, fly a kite. We're picking our grapes, sorry.
Right.
They shut down August. I'm serious. Yeah,
priorities, man. Hey, listen.
Say,
I'll tell you something. This morning I had some French toast. My wife made me French toast, and I had it with crown maple syrup.
Oh, boy,
and I said, we got to get to this place because Christian gave me this bottle of syrup, and to me it's my gold. I don't let anybody touch it.
Oh, it's good stuff.
Oh man, it is the creme de la creme. So yeah, I understand that things in season, out of season. You got to strike while that iron's hot. Speaking
of which, I got to empty out my beehives. They're packed right now.
There you go.
Wow.
Just another little thing to do after work.
I was just going to say,
yeah. Work on some Desmo heads and then go play with 80,000 bees.
Right. Well, that'd be like riding with the guys on the Jap bikes. 80,000 bees. Yeah, that's what we used to call them, the swarming
bees. Another day in the life of Vincent Price.
There you go. We'll have to eat a smoking jacket and pipe to go with it, I guess.
Yeah, I really want one. I tell you, if I see a hipster wearing one, I'm going to rip it off his body and be like, you don't deserve this.
Yeah, he won't fight back. Yeah.
These guys are all dressed and messed up. And, you could Google hipster and you look at the images and they have a whole breakdown on it now.
Oh,
I believe it.
Yeah.
It's totally defined now. It's unbelievable.
Wow.
And you know what happens when it gets totally defined that way? That means that it's instantly uncool at that point.
Yeah, then they stop.
Right.
Right.
And you can find a whole totally different new genre to take on.
But we've been using the term back when I worked at Orient Express, when I worked with a guy there, and some guy would pull up on his bike, and we would be like, oh, look at that hipster. And people would be like, where the heck did you come out with that word? And this is like in early 90s.
Yeah.
Right.
Now it's like...
Yeah.
Well, I hear it on Motormouth Radio.
It's kind of funny because...
now you know it's uncool.
I'll tell you something. Back around the same time, late 80s, early 90s, our friend Richie over at Rolling Thunder, you'd roll in and say, hey, how's your chopper? Now... It was an inside term. Now, it was obviously used the wrong way because, I wasn't riding a dictionary-defined chopper, but what he meant was your bike. How's your bike? Remember, he just called it your chopper, your chop. And amongst us, we knew that was kind of a little bit of a slang that we would use that was okay. Now, and it was funny because I guess other people started hearing it. You'd hear people say that, I'm riding my chopper. The guy's on like a stock Sportster. Like, what? So it got taken out of context by someone who didn't know the difference. And then it got used the wrong way. And then it was funny to the guys who were in on it because, hey, listen to this mook.
After a while, you know what the cool guys are doing now? They don't spell chopper anymore.
How do they spell it?
It's choppa.
Oh, choppa.
With an A.
Right.
Yep.
They've urbanized it.
Chopper. Right.
Yep. That's how they're getting around that now. So if they still want to be cool, you know.
All right.
Right, the gangsta
Anyway.
on his chopper.
Right.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yep.
I spent years trying to not talk that way, Christian.
Yeah, right.
coming from the old country, where I hear that constantly. I spend years trying to not talk that way.
Well, that's why you should be over there picking grapes in Italy right now.
Exactly.
Well, I'm looking for damn parts.
Oh, I'm talking about the old country known as Brooklyn.
Oh, well, there's real grapes in there, too. You can pick your grapes in August.
Oh, yeah. I got a next door neighbor does it. Believe me, I got a...
Yeah, I'm sure. They probably grow really good in the hydrocarbons of Brooklyn.
They do.
The hydrocarbons.
They flourish on the rooftops.
Hey, I'll give you a tip. I was at a friend's house, my friend TJ. I guess it was probably Memorial Day. And, we were there for barbecue. Dessert came out, and his wife brought out this bowl, and they were frozen grapes. And I'm like, huh? And I tried it, and I really love them. I keep now grapes in my freezer, and I've done it. I've actually soaked them in alcohol to try and see how that worked out.
So.
Then I put sugar on some to see how that gets sticky. And I like red grapes. Just throw them in a Ziploc bag, toss them in the freezer, and at night just have as a snack. Oh, was it excellent? So,
hey, so we got Vic for president this week? Is
absolutely.
he in the debate tonight?
I was just talking to Vic on the street just the other day. My wife and I were talking to him just 2 days ago, right on the street corner, where he espoused his words from the words as seen by Vic. And
Vic,
what?
When he worked on my house back in the 80s when Rudy Gonzalez used to own it, who was Rudy's Auto Body from Belmore.
Okay.
People listening would know. Vic did the dormer, and when we bought the house, we were ripping apart the paneling upstairs, and it was all Vic's handwriting. It was kind of like hieroglyphics. You could tell what Vic was going through in his stage of life in the cave there.
Wow.
Because he found there was phone numbers to Rolling Thunder and Mega Cycle, so it was like, yes, this is the time when Vic was building the 55 handhead, and there was a couple of girls' phone numbers, and then some other phone numbers for body shops. And
right.
Yeah.
Did you take pictures of it at least,
Suppliers
Christian?
of different nature.
At the time, you didn't have all these fancy cell phones and all that stuff to take videos and send it to people and put it up on the web and have it all become hipsterized within minutes.
Right. Mm-hmm. You had to make an oil painting of it.
About Vic. Vic would take his pencil, and he was probably making phone calls, coordinating his next build while he was building the house.
Sure.
That's why he's for president, man. He's on top of it.
Absolutely. I told him
he should throw down with Trump tonight on the debate.
When I told him that in person, he gave me that one time. You'll see Vic give you that sheepish, boyish kind of that shrugged look, like, oh no, come on, guys. Like, no, man, really.
Toe in the sand.
Yeah.
Very much.
He's definitely the mayor of Belmore.
You got it.
All righty, my brother.
Where all the junk is.
Yeah.
See you guys later.
All right, Christian.
We'll talk soon, my brother.
Good
Thanks
talking.
for the call.
Talk to you later. No problem.
Bye-bye. Here goes Christian. He's going to go play with 80,000 bees. This is Motormouth Radio, your 1 hour automotive talk show. That's Ray Guarino behind the shop bench. I'm Chris Switzer, 516-572-7440. And the Motormouth Radio Honor Group of the Hour, drivers that feel like walking. That's right, it's a beautiful day out there. Don't leave the car at home. Just start walking. Even if you have to go 3 miles away, just start walking. Why? Because it's a beautiful day out there. And celebrate. Have some, have some golden honey on your waffle or something like that, because you're part of the Motormouth Radio Honor Group of the Hour. So keep it where you got it. You've got a lot more coming your way right here at Motormouth Radio.
Excuse me.
Motormouth Radio. This is Glenn DeMilt. Join me every Tuesday and Saturday afternoon at 5 for 2 big hours of music and memories with the chairman of the board. It's Frank Sinatra on Sinatra's Serenade. Each week we'll take you on a musical journey through the career of this entertainment icon. It's all about old Blue Eyes. So listen to Sinatra's Serenade on WHPC 90.3, the radio voice of Nassau Community College.
Streaming online at ncc.edu/WHPC.
Have a question about your car or someone else's car? Then give the Motormouths a call, 516-572-7440.
Alrighty, back with a vengeance. This is Motormouth Radio. Your one-stop shopping for all things automotive right here. 516-572-7440 is the phone number. Ray Guarino behind the shop bench. I'm Chris Switzer, manning the board and trying to make a mess of things and straightening everything out and all kinds of good stuff like that. What's up, Bubby?
Yeah, and while Christian's out there buzzing with 80,000 bees, I'm just sitting here buzzing like a cheap TV. But anyway, I did a little project. I had a little automotive work to do, and I squoze it in. Squoze! Between my two stories, I have a shed construction project I've been working on, which is what a pain in the neck. But I did some shed building last night.
Right.
And then took a rest. We had a little something to eat, and I was going to do a little more. I said, you know what? No, I have a little car job to do. So I ferried myself off in the garage and started spinning wrenches and stuff like crazy. I talked to you about this off air. I needed to install some carburetor insulators on my Pontiac.
Yes, this is a fascinating story.
Because what was happening is, like we've talked about in the show, Bronk had mentioned it too, and I mentioned it even a year ago. My Fiat was having this problem. Typically what it is, the car will start fine, cold, run great, but when you shut it off and, say, run into a store, when you shut a car off, the temperature actually rises.
Yes, it does, because the water isn't circulating. It stops.
There's no air movement and no circulation, so everything rises. And the fuel, you can get vapor lock, which is actually the fuel turns to vapor because it's so hot and causes a pocket, or any number of different things. But what happens in my case, which happened in the Fiat, and the case of my Pontiac, is I get like a heat-soaked condition. And now when you went to restart the car, in a short amount of time, 5, 10, 15, probably within a half hour, it wouldn't just fire right over, vroom, and just run. It'd be a long crank. You'd have to actually open the throttle blades a bit, and then it may run a little rich, and then it would be okay. It would run, and it just drives me nuts. It's coupled to two things. It's like I said, the heat soak from the hot engine and the ethanol in the gas now. It doesn't light off as fast.
Okay.
So there's two things working against you. In the Fiat, I just took a 1/4-inch phenolic plate.
Phenolic.
And put it between the gasket, then phenolic, then gasket, then carburetor, and that solved the problem in that car. So on the Pontiac, I was researching. I was going to buy phenolic spacers.
Phenolic.
1/2 inch in height. They make them up to 1 inch or more. Race cars use tall ones. And found out that, that phenolic material is basically a form of Bakelite.
Oh, okay.
I know.
Plastic.
Christian Nicole, we've talked about this. It's more, it's a super, super heavy-duty plastic. They've used it in appliances, in amplifiers, because it can take a lot of heat.
Right.
And it doesn't transmit heat. So it's a heat sink. And it doesn't transmit electricity either, so it's nice. It's not a conductive material. But then I looked a little further and found there's another material that they recommend works even better than phenolic. And you're never going to believe what it is.
Is it newfangled, high technology, and ready and able at the touch of a finger?
Yes.
What is it?
But it's so old. It's wood.
Wood?
And like, what? Wood? Then I found out they make two different types of wood spacers, a regular plied type of wood, and then the creme de la creme wood is a laminated wood.
It's from a cabinet.
Well, it looks like furniture, I'll tell you that. It is nice. So what I did is I went to Jegs.com. I took advantage of a sale they were having, and I had to buy, of course, not one, but two of these things. Now, the phenolic ones are $17 a piece, nice and cheap.
So why didn't you get the phenolic ones instead of the wood ones you bought?
Well, I figured, let me go with technology. Let me go with what they say works the best.
Okay.
And I want to do the job 2 times, I'll do it once. So I bought the phenolic ones. They were about $32 a piece. I'm sorry, the wood ones. I bought the wood, yes.
$32 for furniture.
And I had to buy 2 of them.
Mm-hmm. You bought them at IKEA.
Yeah, you could have. Well, they would have known what I was talking about. But, of course, to do that, it's not just a matter of taking the carbs off and putting the spacers in. Now you have to change the carburetor studs because you're added a 1/2 inch, so unless you have real long studs in there,
which you probably don't,
which I didn't. So that was it. After dinner it was quick. Pull the carbs off, take the studs out. Luckily, everything was new construction recently, so
things spin right off.
And I did use anti-seize between the steel threads of the studs and the aluminum threads of the intake manifold.
Very nice.
Yeah, put it on, put them on, fired the car up, boom, no leaks, no drips, no errors. So it worked well. And now I will take the car out tonight because I'm going to the Centurion Cruiser's annual barbecue meeting. So I'll take it out to that tonight, and I'll see if my heat soak problem is solved. I didn't readjust the carb. I may have to, though, because you've effectively changed the Venturi area, the Venturi length now.
I was going to ask you, what would these spacers do to prevent that vapor lock or prevent that heat?
Okay.
Good
question.
Is it the heat that's coming up through the engine that it will sink through the wood and not get it to the carburetor? Is that basically what we're looking at?
Well, this is what happens. Like, just to give you a little indication, when I open my hood, when I get to a cruise night, the fenders on my car are hot. That's how hot it is. So now you have an intake manifold that's bolted to the heads, which is bolted to the block, which is all cast iron, and the carburetors sit with, except for a thin gasket, right on that intake manifold. So the heat transmits right to the carburetors. That's how you get the vapor lock, and that's how you get fuel percolation and stuff. So now by putting a spacer block in there that's not conductive, you essentially isolate the carburetor from the intake for heat purposes.
Right.
And we'll see. It worked in the Fiat with only a 1/4-inch spacer.
And this spacer was, again, how thick?
1/2 inch.
1/2 inch. That's pretty thick wood.
Now, what I did do to be sure and safe is once I put them back on the car and put the air cleaner on, as I lowered the hood, I had my drop light in there, and I kept getting lower and lower. Because I wanted to see
if it hits the
hood.
Bottom of the hood.
And it just makes it.
Wow.
Just made it.
Holy smokes.
Next thing would have been making a nice hood scoop, an open hood scoop.
Next thing would have been getting out the plane, planing that piece of wood down to a 1/4 of an inch.
I would have cut the hood. But so I don't have to worry. That's fixed, and now we'll see. Like I said, I'll take it out tonight and see if the heat soak problem is solved. Hopefully, it will be. And you know, they claim, Edelbrock claims, you may see some low end response, a little bit of throttle response. Like, yeah, I need more throttle response.
Yeah, right.
Because I had a little bit of a lag there.
Oh yeah, you have absolutely zero lag.
So it'd be nice if I could get a little better, a little crisper.
I don't know how you can get a little crisper unless the car anticipates when you're going to stomp on it.
Well, that's the idea. For it to know what you want to do and take off. But then, like, if you change your mind, now your brake system better anticipate
when to stop.
So if the brakes are talking to the intake, now you got something going on. If not, oh boy, fanabla.
Fanalic, 516-572-7440. There's your phone number to get a hold of us. Hey, I gotta tell you a little story this week. Did you notice that in the news there was a little problem on the Jersey Turnpike on Tuesday? Where a
little problem?
Yeah, a dump truck went and
hit an overpass.
Decided to explode under the Wood Avenue overpass.
What time in the morning was that?
Early. Yeah, it was early. It was about 10:30.
I went to bed. It was after 11 o'clock. No, it was 11:30, 12 o'clock. And they announced on the radio they just opened the lanes of traffic.
Oh yeah, but the funny thing was, and here's the comedic part, that the next day on Wednesday there was another truck accident in the same exact spot.
Well, how's that for consistency?
And talk about, you want to hear the traffic reporters on Wednesday morning screaming and yelling. They're all up in arms going, it's not the same accident. It's a different
Sounds
truck.
like the LIE this morning.
And I'm thinking only in New York. Yeah, especially the LIE this morning. There's a truck laying across right off of 107. Let's go to the phones and let's go to the fun. Let's say hi, you're on with the Motormouths.
Hello, is Motormouth?
Yes, who's this?
Hey, it's Michael Massano.
Hey, what's up, Mike? What's up, Mike?
Broadcasting from the epicenter of yachting, Yachtsman's Cove Marina in Freeport. How are you?
Oh, very good. Doing well. How are you?
Glad to see you finally discovered wood. We've been using that trick for the last 40 years.
Yeah, I know. I've always used
the trick is, though, you got to coat the wood with epoxy resin before you use it. Otherwise, the wood absorbs the fuel.
Well, that's the thing, Mike. When I went to Edelbrock, they had regular wood and they had the laminated wood, which is the stuff that is impregnated with resin.
Yeah, I mean, we've been making them for years. I mean, you know,
right.
We've been making carburetor adapters that put a Holley 500 CFM 2 barrel on a cast iron GM manifold, which you had to run for the SK modifieds at Stafford Springs or Wall Stadium and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But getting back to the aluminum and the steel stud, a better answer than using the anti-seize when you get different metals to avoid the galvanic corrosion and avoid the two pieces from seizing together is a product called Ultra Tough Gel.
Okay.
Ultra Tough Gel.
TEFGEL. You can get it at, like, can I say, Jamestown Distributors sells it, but you can probably get it online anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a good. It stops corrosion when you put aluminum or stainless together. Aluminum steel, you'll always get bubbling around it. And you know, once you get aluminum and steel together, this stuff hardly ever comes apart.
Yeah.
So this works 100% better. Is what we use in the marine world.
I was going to ask you if it comes out of the boat world. Yeah.
Now, as far as you know, your fuel percolating in the fuel balls and getting vapor lock, you know, you really shouldn't be a problem with today's fuel pumps if you got the right fuel pump. But a trick that people used to run years ago in the junior stock, when people used to run junior stock, an old trick that I seen a lot of guys do years ago. They actually used to put aluminum foil around the fuel line and wooden clothespins that absorb the heat.
Yes, I saw it too. I've seen a lot of aluminum foil used. Yeah.
Wow, aluminum foil and clothespins?
Well, wood, yeah.
Wooden clothespins, yep.
Wow.
Absorbs the heat.
Holy smokes! Yeah. And it works, huh?
Well, I know that the spacer plate works because it worked in the other car. So it's we'll give it a shot. We'll see what happens. We're gonna find out.
Yeah, it's something you'd never figure on, right?
Yeah.
back then in junior stock, they weren't allowed to run electric fuel pumps.
Right,
so
right.
What they used to do is they take like a junior stock said the end delivery in 1956. It would have a 265 they were allowed to run like the slush box, the 4-speed, 4-speed hydros.
Yeah.
Or the power glides. What they would do is they would run. They would take a 427 fuel pump, like a 427 390 horse motor, and just swap out take the pin out and put the arm on, the small block arm, and run that pump.
Yeah, sure.
Which you could probably do with a Pontiac because all those GM pumps are interchangeable except for the arms.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, it's not. The other thing that compounds it is the ethanol. Ethanol in the gas just doesn't have the light that regular good gas does.
Ethanol is the ruination of everything.
Yeah, so that's another problem that compounds this whole thing, and that's why that's what led me to do this. So. Yeah, so we'll see.
Shed some light on it, though.
Yeah,
Mike, thanks for the call. And always a pleasure when you shed some light on it.
You got it, buddy.
Thanks,
good.
Mike. We'll talk soon. Be safe. Bye-bye. 516-572-7440. There's the phone number. Get a hold of us right here at Motormouth Radio. Ray Guarino behind the shop bench. I'm Chris Switzer, of course. Every Thursday, every Sunday, noon to 1, you'll find this program on this fine radio station, along with Performance Motorsports Network and iHeartRadio later on in the week. You can always hear it. And, of course, motormouthradio.com, where you'll find the podcast and the very anemic blog that I try to do. 516-572-7440. When we come back, I want to talk about something that's not much political, but it started out being political, but we're going to move it right over to the automotive side very, very effortlessly. So you keep it right here to Motormouth Radio. Got a lot more coming your way.
Yeah, I want to know what the is wrong with my car. You have a short in your horn.
Motormouth Radio, 90.3 FM, WHPC.
Tune in to Thunder Road for...
Heart-stopping, band-dropping, hard-rocking, earth-shocking, booty-shaking, love-making, Viagra-taking, yes-we-making, legendary.
Join me, Kim Tracy, for the music of Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band on Thunder Road, Thursdays at 11 p.m. and Sundays at 1 p.m. on 90.3 WHPC, and streaming at ncc.edu/WHPC.
Got a car question? Give the Motormouths a call at 516-572-7440.
All righty. Welcome back to Motormouth. There's nothing wrong with your radio. There's something wrong with my mouth. Take two. Welcome back to Motormouth Radio. I'm Chris Switzer, of course. Ray Guarino behind the shop bench. 516-572-7440. You can watch us on vaughnlive.tv/Motormouth Radio right there. Right there. You can watch us, see what Ray's wearing. 516-572-7440. Okay, go for it. I'm a little bent out of shape. Just a little bit. At the word targeting.
Yeah.
Targeting. Now, we've heard it a lot as of recently in the same sentence as the word minority.
Okay.
Okay, targeting minorities. We've heard this, especially about the police, right? And I was thinking about this on the way home one night. Do you know that in my whole entire automotive career, I have been subject to targeting because of what I drive?
Mm-hmm.
Targeting by the police because of what I drive. So all the way back, 1981, I was driving a big old Cadillac, and I put a for sale sign in the window because I wanted to sell it. And would you believe I got pulled over by the police? And I remember a woman cop came over and said, "You can't have a for sale sign in the window." Now, this was back in 1981. I've never heard that before or since, but what I did was I respected the policewoman, and I took the sign out right then and there. I said, "No problem, officer. I will handle this right away." Now, mind you, I'm 17 years old, already establishing having respect for the police, okay? So now this transcends, and I find out, like, years later, I was driving a car that was hit in the back and was literally, the quarter panel was crushed in. I got pulled over by the police more times with that car. And every time I got pulled over, I always said, "Officer, I'm going to take care of the damage. Don't worry about it." But it was like they were hounding me.
What was the complaint? Why were they...
They said that the taillight was distorted. I had a piece of red filament tape over it. Of course, they frown on that. So, but Every time I kept getting hounded, but every time I got hounded, every time I was targeted, I always had the respect for the police. They always let me go. There was never a time that I mouthed it off to them. If a police officer told me, put your cigarette out while I was being pulled over, guess what I would do? Put the cigarette out, right? So I met the entire police force in the small town I was living in Connecticut because I was driving the Buick Electra that needed paint. So it was covered in prime, and it had no interior in it. It looked like
sounds like my car.
It looked like the interior of the GTO. Had no interior in the car. It had a front seat, a dash, and a steering wheel.
Yeah.
That was it. And I swear to you, I met every single police officer in this small Connecticut town because they kept pulling me over.
Okay.
But I still maintained respect for the police. And I thought about it. I went, I've been automotively targeted throughout my whole life. It was my choosing.
Yeah.
I drove a vehicle that commanded some sort of attention. I still do.
Right.
And I still get pulled over.
So what's our takeaway here?
Well, the takeaway is to have a little respect and not get yourself in trouble. Well, everybody, this whole media escalation of these people that are suffering by this alleged police brutality are happening because they don't freaking listen.
Well, you don't have to be getting in trouble by your admission to be targeted. You could just be driving down the road and now you're stopped.
But the great realization is, normally I'm not a person that's going to turn around and go, hey, me too, I've been targeted. But then again, I'm thinking about it and I'm saying, I am.
Yeah.
I was.
Okay.
I still am. And just the fact that you maintain a certain order when you're in their world, when they pull you over, you maintain that certain order and decorum and do what you say, you do what you're told to do, and then if 9 out of 10 times, they'll probably let you go.
It's just like I told my daughter when she became drinking age and she was out at night, and I said, listen, now you better make sure, always give your car a good look around. I said, a brake light out will get you stopped for a warning at night. I said, and when you get stopped at 2 a.m., the first thing the officer's doing is he's looking in the car. He's going to look in the front, look in the back. What's he doing that for? I said, just because.
Right.
I said, because that's where you find stuff.
And that's what you do when you keep your car clean.
I said, so, that's what I told her. I said, if you
clean.
want to minimize your problems in case, when you're out like that, make sure that, things like this, stupid little things like a brake light, tail light, and you don't always know when they're out. All cars don't have indicators on the dash to tell you that. I said, but, just be aware.
Mm-hmm. No, I totally, and this is what I never hear on the radio. No one talks about these things. How to prevent getting into those situations. How to prevent having altercations so it doesn't get to that point.
True. Well, your statement piggybacks on a statement that I've always said when the whole thing of racial profiling was hot, when it became hot a few years ago, and everybody was up in arms, and I said, hey, you know what? I have a race, a creed, and a color. I said, and I have a profile. Yeah. And I said, and if I don't like it, I can change it.
Yes, you can.
So,
but you're not gonna sit there and say, this is the way I am, this is the way I should be, and you should bow down to my beliefs and you're not doing that.
No, of course not.
You're sitting.
But the same thing with the car profile. If you don't like it, you can change it. Now, growing up, we all drove hot rods, and some of them not too safe. And and you could see that car in the parking lot a mile away. Like, okay, there's a kid driving that car, with the shackles and the air, whatever you want to do. Or you get the hot rod stuff. There's ladder bars, there's mag wheels, there's a blower through the hood. You scream the group that you're with when you drive something like that. And same thing with motorcycles. It all plays in. And if there were some guys who were really smart back then, I wasn't one of them, who chose to drive a sleeper. Let's put on steel wheels, dog dish hubcaps, keep everything under the hood. No stickers on it, no National Speedway winner stickers on the windows and things like that. No toe tabs. And those cars would just slip through traffic and not get noticed as much.
And believe me, I had more fun driving those sleepers than I did driving the cars that commanded attention. And I always said there was just one in particular time where I had a station wagon, and I used to get away with complete murder with this.
Wagons are good for that.
Yeah,
because all the station wagons I had were excellent for.
They were They were just
not being seen.
So blind. They blended into everything, even especially with the wood grain. They blended into everything, and you could rob a bank with one of those things, and no one would know where you are.
Not that you're condoning that kind of.
No, not that we.
Well, same thing with motorcycles. When I rode my Harley, it was a hot rod, and it had flashy paint, had a flame job, and I get the eye a couple times. I got some attention. I ride my BMW. It's big. It's red. and it goes fast. And I've gone past cops on the side of the road, and of course it sounds like a Hoover on wheels because it's quiet.
Yeah, it's true. It
Sometimes the radio is louder than the exhaust, and I'll just go past them, and they're going to look up. Like, nice, I like that.
No, that's the truth. And no one will say things like, and I know we do this, and we talk about this occasionally, but if you don't churn it up, don't put dopey stickers on the back of your car. You can always tell a greasy kid's car, driving right behind a Volkswagen Golf, guy's got every sort of band sticker on the back.
Groovin', yeah.
Yeah, and it's all stuck on the back of his hatch, on the back of this GTI. And I'm thinking to myself, if I was a police officer, I'd pull your butt right over right now. Those things. Then any of the flags, nationality flags, any of them. Doesn't matter if you're down south of the equator or up north. Any of them, you're going to get pulled over. Any stickers in the window, anything that just screams greasy kid, you're going to get it. You're going to get it, and it's going to happen.
Well, I've seen plenty of adults that run flags, decals, or things off the mirrors from their country of origin. You see plenty of that from adults too,
and
not just kids.
They're going to get pulled over.
Not maybe not. Now if it's because of that is profiling. That is profiling somebody. But like you said, if you like that
targeting.
Go back to that GTI. Same thing, target, profile. What's the difference?
Right.
You go back to that GTI. That's why I said that. Okay. Now that's what I would tell my daughter. Okay, listen, you got all those stickers on the back of your car, counterculture stickers, hipster stickers, blah, blah, blah. I said, you're not getting pulled. He can't pull you over for that because that's not legal. That is not legal.
No.
But if the taillight's out, or if a tire is low, or if something else looks askew, the officer can pull you over to question you and give you a warning possibly, or maybe that lane change you made. That's where it works now in the police officer's favor.
Right.
And then the functionary look over, and then to see what attitude comes back. Now everything hinges from there. So yeah, if you had a kid or even a young adult who had all the stickers on the car and fit that profile, yet when they were pulled over were polite, like you said, yeah, they may get a pass. They may get a hey, just want to just check into that thing and let you go. Maybe not.
I had a next door neighbor. His first car was a bright red. I never saw anything so red. A bright red Grand Prix. I'm going back early '90s.
Oh yeah, Pontiac had that real bright red. Yeah,
that was it. And I told him, I said, dude, you're gonna meet the police one at a time with this thing. And he goes, I'm a slow driver. I go, doesn't matter. It stands out.
I've read that was I read a site a while ago where they talked about that car colors and traffic stops and red. They kind of they debunked it. This site debunked it that red was not.
You could say that. You could say it was debunked, but I don't know. I want to just a very unofficial test. If you're on the highway, you're driving along, and you out of your peripheral vision see the cars coming at you going in the other direction. For some reason, I know I do it. Every once in a while, I will gravitate to a car. Out of the millions that are going by at lightning speed, I will gravitate to one, and 9 out of 10 times, my attention will fall on a red vehicle.
Okay, yellow too. Yellow gets my attention.
Yellow too, yeah. And usually anything with very big quarter panels, then it's usually old, or a pickup truck.
Well, that's old, yeah.
But I mean, mostly red vehicles. And so I do agree it has been debunked, but still, the outcome was that after 2 or 3 years, he sold the Grand Prix, the red Grand Prix, and he bought this dark blue Dodge Neon. I'm like, what are you doing with that? He goes, oh, you wouldn't believe the cops that pulled me over with this thing.
Right.
And I'm like, what happened to Mr. Slow Driver nosebleed after 52 miles an hour? What happened to that? And he's like, no, he says, never again. And he never owned another flashy car after that. And I was just amazed. But this is what I'm saying. If you feel you're a target, you now have the responsibility of, like you say, Ray, changing it, altering it, not falling into the same guys. Prove them wrong. Don't wear the clothes that the targets wear.
Well, it goes a lot deeper than that, and it goes way back through history. This isn't anything new. People are associated with the things that they have and the cars they drive. Things are extensions of us. So when you see the clothes someone dresses in or the car they drive, it's usually an extension of their personality somehow, some way. Not always. Some people, I know some really wild people who drive the blandest cars because they just don't care about cars.
That's true. No, that is true.
But in general, I think that's the way it works.
But I also feel that if you think that those stickers are proving a point or something, stressing an opinion or whatever have you, but it's getting you into trouble or it's making your life that much more difficult, then take them off.
That's usually when you hit, you get into your 30s and you're saying, oh my God, is it really that much over already? I can't. And that's like, all right, scrape these dopey things off. Things, because, in life you change. You grow, you change, things are different, jobs, family, all sorts of stuff changes. And what you do, how you you got to take off the far from grooving stickers because you got to put baby on board in the back or whatever.
Right, all those little stick figures along the bottom of the hatch glass.
Yeah, but like I said, people go through life cycles. And then you get guys, what I've seen is the people who get into now, like into their 50s, and they revert back to that with all the, instead of like one of my favorites, instead of the stick figures, it's like the gun family.
Right, with the skull.
Skull or skeletons. Those are now you're kind of like letting your freak flag fly again, but in another, you're bowing to popular culture, but in your own way, let's say.
Yeah, well, I think
that happens.
I think the general consensus in the police force on a highway, I think, kind of takes those liberties into consideration.
I know some cops that have that stuff on their cars. I do. But a lot of young police officers out there.
Well, if you're going to have those dopey stickers on the back of your car, if you're going to do those things to your vehicle to make it stand out or to make it unique or to make it somewhat of a target, just have a little respect. Have a little respect. It's amazing how far it will get you, and that's my lambast.
I think you've definitely knocked that point through the roof.
516-572-7440 is the phone number. I'm going to come down off my podium right now. That's Ray Guarino. I'm Chris Switzer, of course. The Motormouth Radio Honor Group of the Hour. Drivers that feel like walking. Wait, you want to grab the bicycle? Maybe we'll really put in a little cardio? Yeah, forget about it, because I don't want to be too much of a nuisance to the rest of the motorists out there. But if you feel like walking, give yourself a big pat on that sweaty back of yours, because you're part of the Motormouth Radio Honor Group of the Hour. So please, keep it where you got it to Motormouth Radio, because I think we're going to be back as long as we're not turned into some obscure gardening show like we're always being promised.
Whether your car is fast or slow, we're your #1 radio show. Motormouth Radio, baby. Ow.
WHPC, Garden City, New York, the voice of Nassau Community College.
Join WHPC's Daily News Wrap-Up, weekdays at 4:30 p.m., bringing you a complete report of the day's news home and abroad, as well as sports, weather, and many other informative features.
We're Long Island's FM alternative.
Have a question about your car or someone else's car? Then give the Motormouths a call. 516-572-7440.
Yes. The show is still on. 516-572-7440.
Like the cheap suit.
Yes. With a lot of crushed velvet around the collar. Go back to the early portion of the show. You'll understand why I said that. 516-572-7440. Ray Guarino. I'm Chris Switzer. So I'm going to embark on tearing off the welds on a piece of angle iron that I welded onto the bottom of the TR6.
It's good. I was going to ask you for the bi-weekly report, and oh boy, angle iron. See, you should watch Phantom Works. I was watching that show last night, and they do a lot of restoration and repair, and a guy brought in a 29... It was white. 29, what model of car was that? Oh, jeez. A Phaeton. And he said it rode very stiff. His grandkids don't like riding. His wife doesn't like riding in it. When he drives on the highway, he hears like cracking noises. Well, it ends up they took the body off. They checked everything out. And this chassis had been repaired and welded many, many times, all wrong, all bad, and they just picked it apart and they said, listen, there's one fix for this. They got to get a new chassis.
Oh,
they
wow.
put a new chassis under this car. And you're looking at some of these welds, and they used every term from boogered up to scabby. I mean, these were the ugliest, these welds. And he said, yeah, and there was fresh cracks everywhere. He says, this car literally could have broken two at any time.
Wow.
So whatever you do it right.
I'm going to try, because I'm working with good metal, and I do pretty well welding on good metal. I actually do better welding on bad metal, but I do pretty well welding on good metal. So what I'm going to do is because the angle iron, it was actually just a reinforcement. I did this years ago. I don't remember why I did it. There was no holes there, but I just did it as a reinforcement because I was just making sure that it doesn't break apart. But what I realized is I welded at the bottom and up the sides. So doing that, what I'm going to do is, because the car is, the chassis is kind of on an arc, with the arc being it's not like a spoon, it's more like an upside-down spoon, right?
And you say it's supposed to be that way?
No, it's not.
Okay.
So
you got to get it straight first.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut those welds and let the car come back down to where it's supposed to be.
Yeah, you have to have it sitting in that. I mean, that's why a frame table works well, because...
Yeah, well, let's put it this way. If this doesn't work, I may just do that.
Well, plenty of guys do this, at home in the garage, and you can get good results.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's...
But yeah, you got to get it straight.
So that's the next endeavor. Slide under the car once more.
Oh, I thought you were going to be driving it soon, too.
Yeah, well, I could. I mean, it's not going to take too long to break those welds.
No, well, but to get this straight, I mean, this is definite measure twice, cut once territory.
I'm not cutting anything.
Well, that's,
I'm going to let it sag, and then I'm probably going to tack it again just to see if I got it right.
Yeah.
So...
Take a lot of measurements, though.
Yes, I will. 5165. I'll eyeball it with my thumb. 516-572-7440. But that is what I was doing. I was all under the car last night, the night before, just checking it all out. Going, okay, I'll do this, do that, that. So that's next on the agenda. But the car runs okay. I just have a mixture issue. That's the only thing I'm dealing with right now. So, excuse me.
Yeah.
516-572-7440. I have to cough.
I'm gonna reach out to our buddy Joe D later this weekend. Because I'm thinking one of the things on my hit list for this summer is I want to hit the cruise night up in Whitestone. There's one of Cascarino's up there that Joe knows very well, and one of Billy G's friends, Kenny, who I've been hanging around with, seeing in Belmore Hill at the East Rockaway Cruise Night last week. He puts the thing on.
Okay.
So I'm thinking about maybe cruising up there this weekend, and that's the loose plan. We'll see if it happens. Maybe, maybe not.
Going up to Whitestone.
Yep, going up to Stone. Hang out at a good old Italian journey.
Yeah, I was going to
say. It'll be off hours. The cruise night, it's a Saturday, too, so it's like, have to worry about, daily traffic.
So how does the GTO fare in traffic?
I've had it in plenty of traffic, and it's fine. The car has, it's exhibited very good manners.
Mm-hmm.
The only problem is, of course, on the downside, is you're dealing with a hot car inside.
Right.
And you're dealing with a standard transmission with a V8 engine that's still breaking in. So I don't like sitting it in traffic too much. I don't like doing it. I like to keep it moving. And it's all clutch work and whatever, and it's that's a pain in the neck sometimes.
I'm thinking Northern Boulevard all the way out or something like that.
Cross Island straight up is really it.
True.
Get off and just 154th, and there you are. But you got to see. You got to look ahead and see what the traffic is. Of course, if Cross Island North is bad, you dump off at Northern. You can go that way. You can go up through the surface roads, which aren't always much better a lot of times either.
But you're always moving. I've learned recently that as long as you're always moving, you're okay. I don't mind if it even takes longer than sitting in traffic.
That's actually always the way I felt about it.
Yeah, as long as you're moving and going out.
That's why we always argued about traffic. You say, oh, you just sit it and you get through. I'm like, no, just get off it.
I'll tell you this.
Go light to light.
Sometimes when you have cargo that you may need to get out of the car every once in a while, sometimes it's a good idea not to be sitting in that traffic.
I do it if it's just me. I'd rather be moving than sitting still.
The other thing that drives me crazy is that even if the main artery is moving, you still take the goat paths.
Sometimes.
You're still going up and over ruts and divots and going around these ant hills and whatever have you to get to wherever you're going.
Sometimes
I'm like, where the hell is he going?
Well, sometimes it lets you get in a certain way you couldn't get in if you were on the main road. There's different concessions.
I'll tell you, I have now become a big fan of the app Waze.
Yeah, I have that on the phone. Sure.
I love it.
Yeah, it's user driven.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but what I love the fact is that I'm waiting for it. It'll always give you. Let's put it this way. I'm jumping ahead. It'll always give you the best route possible, and even if the best route is like a minute. Faster than some other routes.
Yeah,
it'll give you that route, which is kind of funny. And that route usually may not be the best route possible, but it'll give it to you anyway, just as far as speed alone.
Right.
But I'm waiting for ways to tally up my trip and just come up with, you're screwed.
Yeah?
You are just...
Well, most of the places you're going, I'm surprised it doesn't say that.
Oh, the traffic has been unbearable. And it's always during the warmer months, during the summer.
Yeah.
It is the one thing I do not like about summer, because if it was January, I wouldn't have half these problems.
Well, what do you think it is? Beach people? Vacationers? I don't know.
I have not a clue.
I know by me, in good old Nassau County, you look around, you look at the Meadowbrook Parkway around 7 o'clock on any given night, or 6, 7 o'clock, and there's this exodus going north. Like, where's everybody come from? It's all the Queens people coming from the beach, and all the people from Brooklyn coming from the beach. Stay in your own freaking beach. You got them. You live on the shoreline. No, we're going to come down to you guys. So I know I stay off the Meadowbrook North at that time, and the Wantor North. Absolutely. I'm taking goat paths in my goat.
The biggest, best-kept secret are the last 2 weeks of August. We're coming up to the best time to travel. You know why? Because all these clown heads all go on vacation.
Yeah.
Everybody goes on vacation the last 2 weeks. Everybody has to get that vacation time in before school starts.
Okay.
But the last 2 weeks of August are the best times to be on the road. I will never take a vacation from work last 2 weeks of August. But once school hits, once September rolls around, if I have to make my job at a certain time, I usually leave at an hour, maybe an hour and 15 before. Now I have to double it.
That's when you take the vacation.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. When you take the vacation, when everybody else is sending off,
and not only that,
burying the kids to school,
you get special deals on post-summer rates, and because now the hotels want to book, and everybody wants to get that money they were getting in the summer, so they'll make you deals to get you in there.
Yeah, very true.
Probably except for the airlines. But yeah, they will.
But it's the best kept secret. I always found that driving on the last 2 weeks of August is always the best time to be on the road, because no one's on the road. Everybody's going somewhere else or doing something else. So it's always very, very cool. So what do we have coming up? Do we have anything, or we're nice and quiet? We're going to be talking to each other for the next couple of weeks?
We're quiet right now. Well,
nice.
Sunday we're quiet. We're going to be booking. Tonight is that episode of Graveyard Cars that Mark Warman told us about last Sunday.
Oh, right, Lost episode.
So I'm going to watch that as well as the presidential debate, and I want to get him back on to maybe talk about that. The next booked guest we have is next Thursday. We have some of the ELTC, the Exceeding Limits Truck Club guys, Mike Giassi and them, are coming in on the 16th. They want to wait till after a big show they will go into, which I guess is maybe this weekend, and then they're going to be coming in, piling in here next Thursday.
Oh, good.
So yeah, we'll play with those guys next week.
Very cool.
And we'll talk to Mark, and there's a couple guys in the wings I got to call and schedule, and if I remember where the phone and the computer are, unless it's outside on my table, I don't see it anymore. So that's how that goes.
Hey, just to let you know, I wanted to bring this up real fast since we have some time. The Pathfinder, I have been changing out the brake fluid in the slave cylinder, master cylinder, hydraulic clutch combo, and I've done it at least about 3 or 4 times, and I'm slightly amazed. It's pretty clean.
That means the stuff must have been pretty bad.
It was awful.
Yeah.
I pulled out. It definitely looked like old motor oil.
But the couple of brake repairs you did, you must have flushed out a bunch of it when you bled the brakes.
Oh, not the brakes, the hydraulic clutch.
Oh, it's not a combo. I thought you said
no,
it was
I'm
a combo.
sorry.
Because some use both. Some use the same fluid.
This one doesn't.
Okay.
No, it's not a combo in that respect.
Right.
Yeah. So I was nothing short of amazed that I was able to flush it out and clean it up.
Okay.
And I didn't have to. I should get under there and try and free up the bleeder screw.
Yeah.
But it really does. That whole slave cylinder looks awful.
Yeah, they do get pretty rusty.
It really does look bad.
Is it a steel cylinder? Because some are cast, some are aluminum.
I don't think it's aluminum. It's rusting.
Then it's steel.
Yeah,
it's cast.
And it's almost like the bleeder screw is almost just this
part of it.
Yeah, it's triangular piece.
You could crack the hose.
I know, but I don't
I
don't want to do that either.
Okay.
I don't want to do it. I think I'm truly just more concerned and afraid of it right now than I should be. So I thought, you know what, it's easier just to swap out the fluid. And all I've been doing is just with a turkey baster, just drawing the fluid out of the reservoir, dumping it out, and replacing it with fresh. And I did it at least 2 or 3 times, drawing it out, replacing with fresh, and every once in a while, it doesn't take too long at all.
Oh, no.
Maybe 10 minutes tops. And it's almost a golden now. It's almost a golden color in the cylinder, and I'm very pleased. So that looks like it. Hey, remember, always catch on this show. We're always here at noon to 1 on Thursdays and Sundays here at Motormouth Radio. You can always go to motormouthradio.com, and you can always get Ray's cell number. I'm sure legions of people have it.
They do. I've given out about a couple thousand business cards over the years.
But yeah, we're really working hard on getting the website straightened out, along with our podcast and our blog. Always looking for suggestions. Please write to Ray at motormouthradio@ncc.edu if you have any suggestions for the show, good or bad. We're always looking for new ways we can expand the program.
And the best ones we'll read on air.
So we're always trying new things, especially for the summer. You know why? Because the summer is kind of slow for everybody. You know, we're trying to do our projects, but we also are trying to listen to you and your projects as well. So we're always interested in hearing from you and whatever projects you're doing, whatever stories that you have. It's always a good idea right here at Motormouth Radio. So motormouthradio.com. That's Ray Guarino. I'm Chris Switzer. I got to do this. Look at this. I'm already losing all kinds of stuff here. It's just amazing. But got to change this. We're still like in the 20th century here. So there are times where running a board is not as smooth as I would think it would be. But whatever. This time it is.
Yeah.
Okay. For Ray Guarino, I'm Chris Switzer. This is Motormouth Radio, and we're going to talk on Sunday with all new projects, all new stories, all new ideas, all coming your way. motormouthradio.com is the website, so please check it out. So for Ray, I'm Chris, and the best advice we can always give you is don't follow us home. See ya!
Bye.